This chart, which I borrowed from Wikipedia, illustrates the movement in performance of disruptive technology compared to existing products. Along the y-axis we have performance, which is increasing, and on the x-axis it's increasing over time. Now what we see are there are different types of consumers or users of an existing product. At the top we have the most demanding users. These are the ones who use virtually all of the features and are pushing things to their limits, and they're demanding, we need more power, we need more functions, this isn't quite enough. Okay. Then we have high quality users, which are using a lot, but not as much as the most demanding users. Medium and obviously low quality users, which really aren't using a whole lot of technologies, okay, or a whole lot of the feature set. Okay. We've talked about Microsoft Word, for example, in a previous video. Right? There are lots of features. We've got change tracking and redaction and digital rights management and signing and images and multi-column layouts, page numbering, and embedding multimedia content and displaying in different resolutions and sizes and preparing for desktop publishing, converting to PDF, and all sorts of things. Okay, people are somewhere are probably using all of these and more. They're just like going, wow, and then I need these add-ons and third-party extensions to my software, and I'm just really maxing out my investment here. And then there's maybe people who are power users. They know a lot of the great features. They're using them to be more productive. And we keep moving on down the line. Then we've got people who are using Microsoft Word just to write a letter and send it off to their grandmother. Okay. So what happens is this line that starts down here, that's strange writing along the edge, it says disruptive tech. What that means is we have a disruptive innovation that starts down here. And at the beginning, it's barely even noticeable by the low quality users. But over time, it gets better and better, and eventually it starts crossing these lines in a way that eventually it ends up way up at the top, and it's even outperforming what the most demanding users were asking just a short time ago, maybe a couple of years ago. Okay. Clayton Christensen, one of his main examples of this, he studied the steel industry. And it used to be that American factories were the dominant world provider of steel. And they made good steel. But steel required lots of capital investment. That means huge factories and lots of resources and expertise. Okay. Well, in Japan, they needed steel, but they didn't have a lot of space. They still don't have a lot of space for these huge steel factories, and they didn't have a lot of the raw materials needed to make steel. Okay, seems like well, how are we going to compete there? But Japanese engineers put together this technology to create what's called these mini mills or mini steel mills, and it used different amounts of power and largely recycled steel to create new steel for purposes that they needed. And at the beginning, steel produced by the steel mills compared to steel produced by traditional large plants, factories in the United States, was very inferior. All it was really good for was something called rebar. Rebar is, if you go to a construction site, you see those metal poles sticking out of the cement. That's rebar. Okay? It's not very expensive steel. It's useful for low-end projects like that. So what happened is existing producers of steel looked at that and said, okay, so the Japanese steel mills can produce rebar. Rebar is really cheap. And you know, we don't make a lot of profit on it. Our most demanding customers are not asking for it. So you know what? We won't invest a whole lot of money in trying to make steel mills and create cheap rebar because it's really not profitable. It's not what our shareholders want. It's not what our customers want. So they pretty much ignored it. Well, over time, the quality of steel coming out of the steel mills keeps improving. Okay, this is a different technology from the way we traditionally make steel. That's what makes this a disruptive innovation. It's not an improvement on steel making as we traditionally know it. It's a new technology for doing so. And it starts out as pretty much inferior. It does not have the performance benefits we need. But over time, it starts getting better. And then those steel mills start making steel that's quality for nails. Well, nails aren't really that profitable. And our most demanding customers, who are our most profitable customers, are asking for new features and new types of steel, and we'll keep innovating with what we currently have, improving on our existing product instead of taking bets on this technology called mini mills that nobody knows if it's really going to pan out. And that's what our shareholders want. That's what our customers want. That's what the managers do. And so we keep improving on this. Our performance is improving here, on even for our most demanding users. But this line here is what you have to worry about. This one, these steel mills are coming up fast. And over time, Japanese steel keeps getting better and better and better. And eventually, it starts eating up more and more and more from the bottom of the market. And finally, we have companies that say, well, we still have our most demanding customers, but even though the margins are really good up here, a lot of our revenue has been lost because we've given up this to the disruptive technology. Okay, so this is what happens. We come in and we start improving and cutting across these, gradually eating away at the customers from the bottom, away from as we invade the market, and ultimately we find ourselves with the disruptive technology. When it works, sometimes it doesn't, but when it does work, it ends up dominating the industry.